Oh boy, it's been a long time since I could say this phrase, but finally I can say it again. Say it with me, people. Say it with me. It's time for that Magi greatness, people. Alright, so as most of you may know, it's been a long time since I talked about Magi. I think the last chapter I talked about was like 284, 285, and I'm back to give you guys a great catch up of everything that I've missed up until the latest chapter. One of the things I want to say though is that, because a lot of people are asking, well, why did you stop reading it? I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't want to give you guys half-hearted reviews. I didn't want to just put a little bit into it because I really wasn't enjoying Magi for a long time after the time skip. I felt as though the time skip didn't deliver what I expected and what I hoped for. We didn't get to see Aladdin and Morana for a long time. There was a lot of things about the Magi time skip that I just really wasn't digging. So I said, fuck it, I'm gonna leave it build up for a while. I'll get back to it. And a lot of time passed since then, but now I finally got through all of it and I'm here to give you guys my thoughts. So after the time skip happened, one of the things that it definitely helped to deliver was Alibaba developed not only from a power standpoint, because he doesn't even need his Jinn equipped to fight certain beasts and stuff like that, but also it gave him more maturity in the mind. Even though he's still Alibaba and he's still goofy and nerdy and shit like that, ultimately Alibaba matured more and he could battle politically and mentally, and not only just physically, where he had, you know, Amon and shit like that, which, don't get me wrong, I love him kicking some ass, but it really showcased that Alibaba could do more than just swing a sword and just, you know, go crazy and shit like that. And that's one of the things that I guess it did right for Alibaba's character, something he really needed, so that he wasn't just a bumbling, stumbling idiot around there. He actually developed very well. I mean, it took him dying and being in that weird spirit world, but he developed very well. When we got back to this world, Aladdin, Morgiana, and Hakuryu all disappeared. We didn't know what was going on. It was a big mystery, and Alibaba for roughly 20 chapters battled politically. And I think that's one of the points where a lot of people started dropping off of Magi, is that Magi's always had politics in there. It was always wedged in there amongst all the major plot points and shit like that. You'd have a little bit of a political struggle. I think Shinobu Otaka, her mistake was in the time skip coming back, divulging solely into politics regarding Alibaba helping the Co-Empire to get out of his debt and shit like that. And don't get me wrong, it's fine to have politics here and there. I actually enjoy it at certain points, but when it's only solely devoted to Alibaba going from country to country trying to strike deals and shit like that, it felt as though for a while, honestly, I wasn't even reading Magi. I felt as though it turned into Magi the Labyrinth of politics. We got to see that the world advanced greatly, and honestly, even though people say that Sinbad, you know, his ideals is wrong in the sense of what he's trying to do and shit like that, you cannot deny, and even in the story nobody can deny, the fact that what he's accomplished in this period of time is incredible. It's insane. He made the world a peaceful place. He advanced the world technology wise insanely. Like, we went from desert stories to fucking technology that is similar to cell phones and shit like that. You don't get that just out of nowhere. Sinbad definitely helped immensely to change the world. Now, you can argue the way he's doing it or his ultimate motives, his end game and shit like that is wrong, but honestly, one of the things about Sinbad that I really like, as far as him being, I guess, sort of an antagonist or sort of a villain or whatever, is that he still has many complexities to him. On one half, he's doing all this with a good mindset. He's not doing this because I'm evil, you know. He actually has some really legit motives, but he comes across as a douchebag sometimes, and especially certain aspects of what he did to the Co-Empire. He basically shitted all over them. He was like, yo, I kicked your motherfucking ass and I'm gonna treat you motherfuckers like dirt. We got the revelation about Arba being inside of Hakuei, and honestly, it's like, yo, throughout my little journey of catching up with Magi with these chapters, I just couldn't help but think, how the fuck do you kill this bitch? This bitch is absolutely OP. I mean, everything I read in all these chapters of everything that she put up with, I'm like, not to mention the fact that the bitch got beheaded by Hakuryu a few chapters before all this happened, and then she still came back in Hakuei's body. And of course, throughout all this, yet again, going back to Sinbad, he was still doing shady things to Alibaba. Alibaba is trying to help the Ko, and you see that things have changed in the Ko, of course. Kogyoku is now the leader and shit like that, and Sinbad, even so, is spreading fucking rumors to fuck them over. So it really was a political battle for like a good 20 chapters between the Co-Empire, Alibaba, versus Sinbad, and I wouldn't even say Sinbad's trading company. It was just really Sinbad. Like, you could even see Jafar every time he's around Sinbad. Like, Jafar, he stays close to him because Sinbad's people, they always gonna ride or die for him. But you can see that they really don't agree with what he's become. They don't really agree with him. But when Magi really started to pick up steam, honestly, and it took, again, 20 chapters, because I believe it was 283 when we came back from the time skip, and it was about 303, 304 when we finally got to see Aladdin, Morgiana, and Hakuryu after the time skip. Getting to see Aladdin looking like his father Solomon, all grown up and shit like that, that got me so fucking pumped. And I was like, why didn't we get this 10 or 15 chapters ago? We had so much of the politics, and I'm like, yo, getting back to the main characters, or some of the other main characters, and getting back to the main plot of everything, I was like, yes. I felt like I was trudging through the desert with some of those political chapters to finally get to what I loved, and the Magi greatness itself. I was like, yes, here we go. I mean, even getting a little example of the training that Morgiana did with the finalists was somewhat more interesting than a lot of the shit we had to put up with for those 20 chapters. But getting that flashback of 2 years ago, what happened and why they all went into hiding, it was priceless, honestly. Finding out about Arba and Sinbad and the fight that Aladdin had with them, and I mean, for starters, seeing Hakuryu getting fucking wrecked after he just had that bout with Gyokuen and actually ended up defeating her. Him and Judar were able to, you know, make her powerless and shit like that. Going from that to the beating that he took, the savage beating at that, from Arba, I was like, oh my gosh, this bitch is fucking crazy. I mean, everything. Aladdin got wrecked. All of them got wrecked, and they had to get dragged the fuck away to the Kina Kingdom and shit like that. And then they even try to blast the bitch with a cannon, and still it did nothing. Like, absolutely insane. I hate Arba because of everything that she's done, but I love Arba. Arba is the villain that you need to hate her in order to love her, because it's like, she's just too much. Like, everybody threw everything they had 2 years ago at her, and they couldn't do jack shit. But the best part of it all, honestly, even though the action is absolutely insane and I love it, is when you go with the clashing of ideals. When Sinbad is like, yo, Aladdin, we don't gotta do any of this, bro. We don't gotta do none of this. All you gotta do is come over here, man. I have good intentions. I'm not trying to do anything wrong. And Aladdin's like, I know what you're trying to do, motherfucker. You want to basically rule shit so that way if you see something as unfit in destiny, then you'll remove it. But if you see something you think is good, you'll put it back. And he says, well, what's wrong with that? And Aladdin's like, dude, you make mistakes too. You're human just like the rest of us. And I love the clashing of ideals, because basically Sinbad feels as though, yo, I know what's right. I know what's best for everybody. And Aladdin's like, bro, you make mistakes. Even when Aladdin pointed out, yo, didn't you at some given point get captured and you was in slavery and shit like that? And Sinbad tried to cover it up with, oh, well, you know, that was destiny and it led to this. And Aladdin's like, no, bro, that was your own mistakes and the choices you made. So essentially, you can make these mistakes for the rest of time with humanity. So you cannot have all that power. And that was one of the best things of finding out, really. Sinbad, he just wants to, because he feels as though if he's in control of everything, if he knows what's going to happen with destiny and he can move shit around, that he'll be alright and the world will be alright. And Aladdin's like, people just need to make their mistakes and keep on moving. Basically, Aladdin wants free will, and Sinbad is like, yo, I want to make things right the way I see fit. And it kind of brings me back to the Amaterasu arc, where everybody was in the depravity because they wanted free will and they thought that Solomon was like running shit. So it's interesting that now, in a sense, Aladdin is kind of supporting what the people of Amaterasu, the people that fell into the depravity, wanted. And then we had that Yunan versus Arba. To be honest with you, I would say that I think it would have been much better if Yunan actually died, but the fact that Yunan actually, because we had this entire time thought, he's this helpless magician, he can't really do shit, and Arba came at him and he showed her, yo, if you was a normal motherfucker, if you didn't have that super regeneration shit, you would have got fucking wrecked. And I love that fight. I mean, honestly, again, I think maybe Yunan should have died. It would have been a little more impactful. It would have made Aladdin even more mature in a sense, but at this particular point, because he's had so much training and shit like that, being in the Dark Continent and with the Kina Kingdom and everything that they went through, I think he didn't necessarily need that. If it was prior to the 2-year time skip, I think that would have been perfect to jet gear Aladdin into, I absolutely have to train. So it's kind of a give and a take with that one. But then getting the rematch and seeing that even after the 2 years of them training, that Hakuryu and Morgiana alone still needed Aladdin because Arba was just too much. It's basically the biggest thing that was helping her was her regeneration powers. Her regeneration powers is one of the broken things things about her, why they did everything they could, but still couldn't take her out. And then when Aladdin steps in, I'm like, you make me so proud, boy. You make me so proud. He's just like Solomon. Like, he used Solomon's magic, fucking wrecked the fuck out of her, and even basically got rid of her out of Hakuei's body. Like, honestly, ever since 304, the Magi manga went back to what I loved. It went back to clashing of ideals for the main themes of the entire series. It went back to the epic battles. It went back to the characters that I loved, and I wish that that would have happened a lot sooner after the time skip. If we would have just had a month or two of the politics stuff and then went back to the Aladdin and all that shit, I would have been fine. It's the fact that we had 20 chapters to get to this greatness, and then having the reunion of all the characters is like, yo, we got a time skip, and finally, after about over half a year, we get to see all of our characters back together again, and the proposal. One of the things I'm sure shippers around the world were fucking going crazy when Alibaba proposed to Morgiana. And yo, the fact that she said yes, first of all, shows that she's grown as well emotionally, because when he told her last time, yo, I want to be with you, and she said, I don't know what it is to love. I was a slave all my life. I'm not really sure what a relationship and all that means. The fact that she said yeah now means that she's ready for it. She's matured more. So it shows a little insight into the growth that she's had in the time skip they've had. And of course, Hakuryu salty as ever. And I love that Aladdin tried to say, hey, it'll be alright. You'll find somebody someday. You're a decent dude, right? I'm kind of curious where Judar's been this whole time, though, because if he hasn't come back to have these incredible battles and laughs and shit like that, what the fuck's he been up to? So I'm curious where Hakuryu is going right now and what's going to happen with the two of them, because Judar, one of the things he loved about being with Hakuryu's character is because they were both insane. When they were rocking together, they were both just like, we're gonna kill, we're gonna kill, we're gonna kill. And Hakuryu ain't on that shit anymore. So I'm wondering if they're still gonna be BFFs, or if Judar's gonna say, yo, pa, move out my way, you ain't the same no more. And towards the end of this catch-up run, one of the things that we've seen is that Sinbad seemingly not necessarily had a change of heart. He still truly believes that he's what's best and shit like that. But the fact that the David Whispers have left him and being with his people, I think is one of the things that changed him. When he went with his people and he remembered the past of all the failures he had, the war that he lost, being enslaved and shit like that, and all the people that he cares about lost, he's like, I need to be with my comrades. I need to do things alongside my comrades. I can't just do everything by myself. So I think that's one of the changes in Sinbad that David isn't going to like, because David wanted Sinbad to basically say, fuck all of them, I'm going to just destroy and do everything myself. So the fact that he didn't, you could definitely see that David and Gilquin are probably going to team up, and more than likely at some given point they're going to basically overthrow Sinbad, and David is going to probably take over his body on some Kaguya Tomadara shit. And I think one of the sparks to potentially another war could definitely be the latest chapter where the Co-Empire left the International Alliance. Sinbad ain't gonna like that, and if David gets into him and, you know, gives him the whispers or actually takes control of him, he's gonna say, yo, nuke those motherfuckers. Bam, start of another war. And yeah, people, that's it. We've caught up 100% to Magi yet again. Chapter 318, I believe, is the latest chapter as of the recording of this video. Let me know what you guys think. First of all, if you were able to get through those politics, if you ain't dropped Magi before then or within then, how do you feel about those chapters? Do you feel as though they were too rough? Honestly, if I was to grade my ride on that, you know, awesome ride scale, I would say that it was the start of a very, very bumpy ride that turned into a great ride. It's like, yeah, you had to go through some hills and shit like that, but then you got to the tropics. Because once we got to that 304, everything was just smooth sailing, everything was amazing again, and it's like, this is a story I signed up to read. This is a story I love. And how do you feel about the time skip, everything that's happened since then, finding out about Aladdin and Morgiana, Hakuryu's training, them fighting Gyokuin or Arba, Sinbad's motives, everything about this time skip? What do you think thus far? And are you hyped to see what's gonna happen next regarding Sinbad? Do you think David is gonna overthrow him, take over him, and then they're gonna raise hell? And what do you think Arba is gonna be able to do at this particular point, since she is just a puppet now? But thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and stalk my Facebook to get more when the video ends. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day.